Hi guys, welcome back. My name's Jess. This is the Scapegoat Club. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about perfectionism. So I wanted to talk about perfectionism, and I think perfectionism is a huge thing in narcissistic relationships, and it is a really big thing in our society as well. So I think when we look at perfectionism, we can kind of see that there might be kind of two sides to it. There's a positive aspect in terms of wanting to do well, being proud of ourselves, pushing ourselves to achieve our potential, and to in general expect a decent standard from ourselves. However, I think the problem with perfectionism is that we take it too far. We think things have to be, in the word, perfect. We don't allow for any mistakes. We don't allow for life challenges. We don't allow for learning. We don't allow ourselves to be human. And perfectionism is often an aspect of narcissistic relationships. Narcissists relate to perfectionism in a couple of ways. First of all, they expect themselves to be perfect. They have very low self-esteem, and it's a defense mechanism, therefore, they can't allow themselves to think of themselves as not good enough. And so they have to see themselves as perfect, and anything less just is too much of a threat to them. It isn't something that they can live with. And so they see themselves and their way of doing things as perfect. And what's interesting, though, is that they need other people around them to be perfect, and yet they can't let them to be perfect. And let me kind of talk through that. So narcissists have to have perfect lives. And so it might be that a narcissistic spouse needs to have a very attractive partner because it would make them feel good. If they have an attractive partner, obviously they're an attractive person themselves. It might be that a narcissistic parent needs to have a very high-functioning, straight-A student child because it would reflect well on them as a parent, and they become perfect. So they need to surround themselves with perfection, or what looks like perfection. But equally, they can't have anybody around them who is perfect, because if someone is perfect, it highlights that they aren't, and so they need to look for flaws in other people to make themselves feel better. So it's this weird dichotomy. It doesn't really make sense, and it's kind of crazy making. And I think this is one of the difficulties if you're in a narcissistic relationship, where what do? You're in a lose-lose situation. If you don't do things correctly, right, perfectly, then you'll hear about it from the narcissist. But equally, if you try to get it right, or heaven forbid you do something right, then there's passive aggression. Maybe there's a little bit of making fun. Maybe there's just trying to find something wrong anyway. Even if you do everything perfectly, there's never not that anyone could do anything perfectly, but if you do a good job, it's still like, yeah, but you didn't quite get that bit right, did you? Or, oh, look at you, you must think you're really great now. Comments like that mean that even if you do well, or you do something they want, or you try and, look good or whatever it is, you just can't win, and they're never going to be happy. And that is it's crazy making. And so that's the crazy making part of perfectionism within a narcissistic relationship. And I also think it's what is also really insidious and really difficult is that when we are separate from a narcissist, if we've been around them for a long time, we actually expect perfectionism from ourselves, especially if we've been raised by narcissists. Anything less than perfect is just not good enough for a narcissist's child. And so we become ingrained in these perfectionistic patterns, and they are really, really harmful for us mentally, because we can't be perfect. We're never going to be perfect, and striving for perfection is just going to make us ill in the end. We look and we idolize, beautiful people with careers and perfect families, and the beautiful house that never gets messy. It just doesn't work that way. We don't have the ability to be perfect on all levels. Yeah, maybe we can be really, really good at one thing, but it does mean that we sacrifice other things in our lives. That's just natural. And it can ebb and flow. If you need to really work hard for a work presentation, or you want to spend a lot of time in the gym, or that's fine. But it means that if you're going to be doing that, you're not spending time, working on something else. Vacuuming the house, tidying the lawn. I don't know. It's very, very difficult, especially with social media and and our celebrity culture. Perfectionism is just something that follows us around, and it is so unhealthy and unrealistic. So if you realize you have got perfectionistic traits, it's actually not a good thing. Yes, having high standards and wanting to do a good job is great, but just because you didn't get the grade A in the last assignment, or you burnt dinner last night, or you're late for work because the dog threw up on the carpet, that's just life. And so to not beat ourselves up about that is hugely important, to give us slack, and to realize that perfectionism isn't real. It's not something to aspire to if we want to be mentally healthy. Being perfectionistic, we can get very caught up in black and white thinking. Oh, I'm not good enough if I weigh this much. I'm not good enough if I have gray hair. I'm not good enough unless my kid gets into that college. I'm not good enough if I have weeds in my yard. I'm not good enough if I don't drive that kind of car. We are good enough. We are good enough just as we are. What we have, what we look like, what we own, and what we achieve do not define us as people. How we treat each other, how we feel about ourselves, those are the important things. And yeah, they're not going to be perfect either. But being kind to ourselves and easing off, we don't need to beat ourselves up that our lives aren't perfect. Nobody's is. And so, okay, let's talk about, so say you really did screw up. Say you really have made a big mistake. Say something really isn't right in your life. Is berating yourself about it going to help? Is blaming yourself and telling yourself it's no point? Whatever it is. You're trying to lose weight, and you went out and you had a pizza and an ice cream and a bar of chocolate. You had a big old binge. Okay, you did that. And maybe that's something you wish you hadn't done. Maybe that's something you're trying to stop. But berating yourself, beating yourself up about it, telling yourself you're a failure, you're a terrible person, that ain't gonna help. That just isn't gonna help. But being honest with yourself and saying, hey, I screwed up, I'm not perfect, but I'm gonna try harder, and I realize that I want to do better next time. Great. That's great. And that's all we can do. We can just try harder. But none of us can be perfect, because it doesn't exist. Thanks so much for watching, friends. If you liked the video, you know what to do. If you want to see more, you know what to do. If you want to support the channel, there's some information here as well. Thanks, my friends. Please take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.